Well, hello there, and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 129. I'm Tristan Jutra,
I'm Will Silver.
And I'm Gray Williams.
and you can find out more about this ragtag bunch, including Tasia Custodi, who's not with us this week, at momentous.tv/links, momentous.tv/team, and the audio extravaganza at momentous.tv/podcast. We have some red alert follow-up to start up with this week. And it seems like we just had something a couple of weeks ago in this department as well. A couple of more high urgency security fixes for iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch to fight what is known as the Predator spyware. The security patch addresses 0-day vulnerabilities exploited by a surveillance vendor to install spyware. Now, Gray, a couple of weeks ago, we had another couple of 0-day exploits, zero-click exploits even, that supposedly were thanks to none other than the Israeli company, whose name escapes me, and you know it.
That is...
It's right there at the tip of our tongues. Oh man.
They do Pegasus.
Yes. Pegasus is the...
That's the name of the spyware. The company is...
It's the kind of day we're all having today. The something group... Who's got the fastest Google foo? NSO Group,
I believe.
NSO Group, Pegasus spyware, and apparently the last time around that was due to some exploits that they had uncovered. What's going on? Are we seeing an increase in these spyware and malware threats? These 0-day threats, whereby not even the companies get much in the way of notice.
I don't know so much about increase, but they're definitely far more serious. In the past, we've had things like Stuxnet and so on, where you've had self-replicating worms that were passed through networks. These are not like that. This is something that's targeted at individuals, and typically they're individuals who are critical of state actors or governments. This is way above all of our pay grades. Like, so if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, "Hey, this is really interesting. I'm learning something new." This is not you.
So it apparently wasn't NSO Group this time. This Predator spyware was developed by Egyptian commercial surveillance vendor known as Intelexa, and this spyware can record audio from regular phone and voice over IP audio calls and gather data from chat and calling apps such as WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal. And we had touched on this a couple of weeks ago, how with some of these 0-click exploits, especially, all it means is like you look at a message from someone and next thing you know you're infected. And that's how Jeff Bezos' phones got infected from a video sent over WhatsApp and the like. So great. What's the bottom line here for regular folks, for the normies out here? What should we do in response to this? Should we just sit and wait and see what happens?
Yeah, pretty much. We live in the bleak, dark future that has been predicted in Black Mirror. There's nothing you can do about it. You might as well just have some more gelato.
And by that we mean go and do your security software updates.
Well, there is that, yeah. And if you've got a phone that isn't getting security software updates anymore, you're not being targeted by this stuff anyway.
Yeah, probably not a high value target. So
to anyone. I'm sorry, that's
hey man, those of us in the know are getting burner phones from 7-Eleven anyways. So iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, update the software, even if you don't want to do the full update to say iOS 17 or macOS Sonoma or Apple Watch OS 10. Just at the very least, do the security updates that may be available for one or more of those devices, because they usually part them out.
This did cause havoc in my life this weekend, though.
How so?
I smashed the screen to my phone.
Oh,
I don't know how. And it's beautiful. It was a single pinpoint precision strike, and I have no idea what I did. I pulled it in my pocket. I'm like, wow, that's not the right shape. And so I took it into Apple, and they replaced the screen for $40.
Was that under Apple Care Plus or without it?
That was under Apple Care Plus. It's a $429 screen $43 and some odd cents was the repair. But it took an extra half hour
Gotcha.
because the Face ID diagnostic would not run because it was running OS 17, and everything else on the diagnostic was running 17.0.1.
Perfect.
That app was a pain in my ass.
So that $40 kind of represents the deductible in that case. What is Apple Care Plus running for an iPhone nowadays?
Priceless.
Is it $99? It must be a bit more than
No,
that.
it's couple hundred. The ongoing one. I've got the ongoing one.
Oh, I see. That's how they get you.
Yeah. Well, so my iPad was out of warranty, and the Apple Care Plus now covers the iPad, the keyboard case, and the pencil. I feel like I'm being punked. I know. Carry on.
Well, some of those devices are pretty small batteries, like the pencil, so you could see how, if you were using it a lot, that might start to decay over time. Just a little postscript for those who are interested in going down the spyware rabbit hole and these zero-day exploits. Apparently, some of these are due to incomplete disclosures by Apple and Google, which is creating a huge blind spot for zero-day exploit hunters, and it has to do with certain libraries such as webp, which is a library found in millions of apps. So if you want to do further reading, we'll include that in the show notes. We're not going to dig too much into that because it's really above our pay grade and honestly kind of boring. Unless
that's good. It's a good read if you have to libwebp.
Exactly. But Apple's not in the clear yet. We're getting some. Now we've had the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro line of phones out in the wild. I guess since reviewers have had them for a couple of weeks, but they went on sale this past Friday, and the issues are piling up. So we're seeing articles here and there. There's one in particular we're going to get to in just a minute, but this has to do with the phones themselves. And one concern being the iPhone 15 gets way too hot.
That's climate change.
Yes, exactly. Almost too hot to hold in the hand for a phone call. Apparently, there's a bug causing the iPhone to freeze during setup. Slow, laggy iOS. What else we got here? Fingerprint attracting chassis. So some people have complained that the new titanium rails and back case, as opposed to it's still black on the back case, but the titanium side rails replacing the stainless steel have been a real fingerprint magnet. And some colors work better than others. Apparently, the natural titanium is sort of the best, but the dark is kind of the worst. Like we saw with the midnight color on the MacBooks, that was really a fingerprint magnet as well. So not a technical issue, just more of an aesthetic issue there. But a lot of us use cases anyway, so whoop-de-doo.
And then just raw dog in the universe with no case on their phone.
Raw dog.
So and then you put your phone in your pocket and the screen smashes. So
it's better than bending.
And then complaints that the new iPhone breaks too easily. So watch out there, Gray. The durability. Some people are finding that it's breaking more easily somehow, despite the new materials that are being used. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there are a couple of things here that don't smell quite right to me, and in terms of the actual issues. Does anything jump out to you, Will, there that seems kind of common when it comes to new iPhones or iOS updates, things that you think are maybe just the complaints are kind of like, what?
Well, should I use past knowledge? Yeah, you said, I believe we had a conversation with you about it, and you said that it's just indexing things.
Well, that was some of the heat issues,
that
definitely, and the lagginess in iOS. Yeah, one thing that people forget when they're setting up a new phone is that it's pulling all your stuff down from iCloud or from your other device over the network, and then Spotlight gets to work just like on your Mac and indexes all that stuff, and it can take a couple of days, and that warms things up. So do people have short-term memories? This literally happens every year. People complain about their phones being hot and slow, which granted is not a super great experience for people getting a shiny brand new device that they've paid, $1,000 or more for. But this is like is this like malfeasance by the tech journalists? It's just clickbait. Like literally every year we have the same thing. And once, and then it goes away. And sometimes if there's any lagging issues, it's often like with a point upgrade, like Gray referred to there. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
We are, but the one at the end really got me, because that's Lou from Unbox Therapy all over again, right? This is Jerry
The
Rig
fragility.
everything. Yeah, and it's like, here, oh look, I tried to break it and I broke it. Get off my planet.
Well, in this case, it was from Jury Rig Everything.
Yeah, this is
And-
exactly
they're trying to
what
do-
Lou did.
Well, they're
It's
doing
exactly
they're trying to do Bendgate. Like, come on, guys.
Who does? Like, honestly, what
It's this Revenge of the Skinny Jeans.
what a doof. Like,
I tried to break it and it broke.
I remember with the iPhone 6 Plus back in the day, I think it was 2013, and it was very thin and not quite rigid enough in terms of a chassis. And I went through 4 of them, and not that the screens broke per se, but enough bent within the screen that the image would go all funky and whatnot. So, and that was an issue. And then with the 6S Plus, they actually reinforced the chassis, so that was
but you got Lou Ferrino over here, like,
Hulk smash iPhone.
We get it.
All right, so moving on from the devices themselves, you guys know what's next. We talk with the release of the Apple's keynote video, the iPhone event a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of talk about environmental initiatives, and they had that whole slightly cringeworthy video featuring Mother Nature as a character, and it was kind of funny, but it kind of went on a little too long. It was kind of better than a slide full of bullet points about all the great things that they're doing, I suppose, in terms of the environment. But one of the new things this year was the elimination of leather from their accessories lineup. They didn't mention animal welfare at all. They just talked about the carbon footprint of said products. So you cannot get leather iPhone cases anymore, or even they used to have leather iPad slip cases, and you can no longer get leather Apple Watch straps. So what Apple has done to replace leather in at least 2 of the cases, the iPhone cases and the Apple Watch cases, is they've developed this new material called FineWoven. And it's sort of a suede-like material. And at least with the iPhones, the reviews are not that great so far. People are complaining that you do rub a fingernail across it, or maybe keys in the pocket or whatever, that they're getting some nasty marks, but not in the same kind of way with that you'd get with a leather case, whereby you can kind of buff it out with your thumb and it just sort of becomes part of the patina over time. It's that no, that these marks are on the suede and they're just not looking great at all. The edges are getting worn quite easily, and even right out of the box, the edges seem quite worn for people with these FineWoven cases. Now, Gray, is this once again much ado about nothing, or has Apple got a real problem here?
I think Apple's actually got a real problem on their hands here. You've got to remember that there are a number of different markets that are going to be affected by this. I think probably the biggest challenge is going to be later in the year, when we see the shift from leather daddies to FineWoven daddies. I know the folks in San Francisco are bracing for it. Sin City and Vancouver Fetish Weekend are already passed, so I think we're in the clear here. But Tim, you got it. It's gonna be a tough thing to try to break to these fellas. I wish you the very best of luck. All
right, so Casegate takes on a whole different angle with FineWoven daddies. Perfect. What great. So do you go commando on your phone, or I didn't get that? You have a case?
Yeah, I've got so actually, oddly enough, I've got an OtterBox case. Orange is kind of that's my color. I didn't realize that orange was my favorite color until somebody mentioned it. Then I looked around like, oh wow, it's like Halloween in here every goddamn day.
I still have my Train Spotting shirt, circa 1996.
True life. So when I haven't taken it out of the case since I got it. And when I did, I was like, oh my God. I bought a gold phone.
There's a lot of schmutz in there.
There was. And the bottom MagSafe, the dongle, the nipple, I don't know. The bit that hangs down on the MagSafe actually came out. I had to use something to secure it in again, which I'm going to be talking about today as my pick. But But yeah, I people who are out there just casually holding their $1,500 to $2,000 pieces of consumer electronics, which, as one of the clumsiest people on the planet, I usually drop 2 to 3 times an hour. I just don't have that kind of confidence. I don't know what it would take. I just got my screen replaced for $40, and I still would not raw dog it.
Just don't put it in your pocket anymore.
I'd have to carry like a satchel just for the phone, and I basically like hold the phone over it as I was using it. It's madness otherwise.
Will, what are you rocking on your iPhone 13 Pro Max nowadays for case wise?
I have a sort of flexible, I guess, rubber case or plastic case.
Like silicone?
Yeah, it kind of flexes to come on. The big thing for me is just to have a little bit of a lip on the edges so that it falls down. It's got just a little bit of clearance if there's a rock sticking up your toast. But so far, I've found that formula has worked for me, and it protects some of the scratches on the sides and the back. But I don't put any protection on the front. I don't have an otter case or anything like that. So I've been fairly fortunate, knock on wood, that I haven't really had anything bad happen to my phone. I think I cracked the edge once, like 10 years ago or something, but it was a pretty minor little crack. And it was just before I was going to get a new phone anyways, back when we had the 3-year contracts. So yeah, I've been pretty fortunate, and those sort of very light cases, they're almost like bumpers, you know, have served me well, and I just kind of buy a new one every time I get a new phone. Right now I have 2 cases that I rotate through, but just because I get bored of things, I guess. And if I'm going to have something for a couple of years, I might as well spend $50 on 2 cases and just kind of rotate them and find the one that I like. And I've kind of got a science down to it. So,
well, I know that there are so many cases around nowadays, and they're of varying quality. I have one silicone case. A white one was beautiful in color, but it was after Apple had stopped making white, and this was for the iPhone 10 series. And it was some off-brand one, and the corners started flaking apart really quickly, and it was a bit of a shame. So I stuck with the sort of the brown leather case on my iPhone 10, and then I have the same for the iPhone 14 Pro. Unfortunately, I think I may have mentioned this previously. The way that the leather wears on the 14 Pro isn't quite as nice, and I think it's because of the edges. The rails is less rounded off, so it's like darker along the edges, and not as great a look, unfortunately.
I actually get ones with designs on the back. So I'm just gonna fully dox myself on this, that I get them from Redbubble, just because it's funny. You wouldn't think they were great quality. It's the only thing I would ever buy from Redbubble, but I just buy these very simple silicone cases with some sort of fun design on the back.
Redbubble, home of intellectual property theft.
Exactly. I hate Redbubble, and I avoid anything that I see as intellectual property, but I do get some simple designs.
How else are you going to get your Nick Fury case?
Yeah. I don't have a Nick Fury case.
You're holding it wrong bumpers.
Oh, right. Back in the day and Denegate.
Yeah, so that's a 4S, but nice. You know what? That was the closest thing that I had to not having a case.
Just the bumper.
It was just the bumper, and I felt like danger was my middle name.
Now, Will, you mentioned you don't do or did both of you say neither of you do a protection on the? Some people like you can get plastic or tempered glass. I've never done that myself.
Not after my first
some people
phone,
believe in them big time.
Like Future Shop peer pressured you into it or whatever, and then I was like, screw you guys.
So here's the thing about that. Logitech, their glass screen protectors are lifetime warranty. When it breaks, because it will break, and I had 2 of them on my 13 Pro sacrifice themselves for the screen. I sent the broken one back to Logitech. They sent me a new screen protector. I took it into Apple. And they put it on for me. So I didn't do it on the 14 Pro because I'm lazy.
It's hard to get those bubbles out.
Yeah.
But But Case highly recommended. It only took once or maybe twice in the early days for me to like learn. Yeah, like you, Gray. I get the
dropsies.
yes, like bye. It just happened again the other day, and luckily with the leather, you kind of it leaves a bit of a mark, but then it buffs out eventually. Not like that freaking FineWoven, apparently. All right. A bit more follow up here. We've got William. Last week we were talking about Unity and a little bit of a whoopsie doopsie on their part as regards public relations regarding the developers. Would you mind recapping that little story for us very briefly? And then what new developments have since happened this week?
Sure. So basically, they released some plans about how to do per install pricing to game developers who had developed games using their Unity engine, which is basically a set of tools and programming tools to help develop games. And basically, this model, it's very complicated, so I won't go into it right now, but basically that per install, the developer would pay a certain amount of money to Unity. This caught a lot of people off guard, a lot of developers off guard. It was poorly communicated, and immediately they sort of had to backtrack. The community was very angry. The developer community was very angry. Many people looked into either yanking their games, sunsetting their games, or redeveloping their games so that they don't use Unity. So there was a letter published recently, late last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, basically walking back a lot of things. Now, it's walking back a lot of things for current games that have been developed or are in the pipeline, especially for those using the free version. For those using the paid version, as long as they don't update to the new version of Unity next year, they won't see significant impact. But where this leads this is, they've burnt a lot of trust. They did some things to actually delete some of their terms of services agreements and really made people angry. And the other point that I keep on hearing from either people I know who are developers or things that I've read online is, if you were starting a new game now, why would you ever use Unity? A, because the pricing model, and B, because they've proven themselves kind of untrustworthy under the new stewardship of the current heads. So I think, unfortunately, it's one of these things where it may be the Rubicon. I don't wish ill of anyone or any company, but this really has been a debacle, and it doesn't seem that walking it back has helped all that much. They aren't taking away this pricing model. They aren't removing it. They're basically just putting it on pause for people who currently have developed things using it, and basically saying, don't update. So it's, I guess, at least, if you're someone who's looking at your game saying, how am I going to fit this into my financial plan? It doesn't affect you as long as you are careful. But going forward, like I said, why would you ever use Unity is what most people are saying. I'm not saying that, but a lot of developers and designers are saying that.
So some of the details that have come out that they've worked on over the last week, they're talking about Unity Personal plan will remain free, and there'll be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal, and they'll be increasing the cap from $100,000 to $200,000 and removing the requirement.
So that's the free version.
Yeah. And then they say no game with less than $1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. But for those who are on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, they're making some changes. And like you said, some of these things will impact 2024 and beyond. But games that are subject to the runtime fee, you can choose between either 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game in each month. You notice they're avoiding the word installs there.
Yeah.
Because that was triggering for people. And you talk about, what about all the people that install the game and don't play it? What about all our shady competitors that are just going and installing stuff on, that's a tactic that I think we talked about previously. And that you can bankrupt someone if they're having to pay an install.
Bombing.
There's no caps there. So sounds like, and then they're saying, so both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available, and you will always be billed the lesser amount. So we'll see if this is good enough for the developer community. But like you said, once you break trust, it's hard to come back from that. So we'll see if Unity recovers. Gray, any color to add to that from your experience as a gamer or game developer adjacent?
It is not used to develop Destiny. I don't care.
Oh, bingo. Right.
I do, but I'm not that tapped in anymore. I wanted to learn Unity many years ago, and then I realized I will never be a developer. So.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I had a question about all this is they implied, and it seems like they talked to some people. Who did they talk to? Because the people that were most angry, and it seems to affected the most, were the small indie developers. So were they just like talking to EA or something? Like, who were they talking to?
The guy that was giving the press conference was only wearing one sock, and he had his one hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't break his phone.
Nice.
Some other news later last week after press time here at Momentous Live, because we're normally on Tuesday evenings, anytime during the day on Tuesday. Who knows when it actually happens? And we had some events on Wednesday and Thursday. I believe it was Wednesday. We saw the Amazon September 23 product launch event. And there was a lot of stuff, not as much as normal. The Amazon often, they throw spaghetti at the wall. They've got a new Echo Show 8 digital photo frame. They've got a new Echo Hub, so a little home hub, kind of like we saw with the latest Google Pixel tablet and the stand that it came with, sort of acting as a home hub for smart home. There's updates to a number of their products, but one of the key things that was happening, new Amazon Fire TV soundbar, Echo frames. A friend of the show, Andy Barrar, actually went to Amazon HQ2 and interviewed a couple of people there about Alexa, and one of the videos was about the new Echo frames. So kind of smart glasses, but they have microphone and speakers, but no cameras in them. And they actually look like normal human glasses. But not having cameras in them, it alleviates a lot of the concerns that people have about these always on potential recording devices. You don't want to end up being a glass hole like the Google Glass wearers 12 years ago now. Eero, which Amazon bought a few years ago, they've got a new set of Wi-Fi mesh routers, the Eero Max 7. And of course, they also say again.
Do I need to upgrade again? I saw Wi-Fi 7, and I'm already at gigabit on wireless. I don't.
Amazon also bought Ring a few years ago, and so they've got. We got to talk to their marketing department. The Stick Up Cam Pro. So their latest Ring cameras, including radar sensors to help with motion detection. Stick Up Cam, like stick up, like this is a stick up. Maybe because I'm from the 30s or something, and Robin Banks, but it just seems like a strange name. I get you sticking it up on the wall or something, but.
I did buy a couple of stick-up cams for my parents when I was back home, and all I did was just stick them up on the wall, and they work. They've got batteries. They're great. It's a terrible name, but it's a good product. Yeah.
New Echo smart speakers, kind of like what we've seen from. This is just a latest update, but Apple HomePod Mini and Google has their own versions of these sorts of things as well. But one of the key things that they were talking about was just AI. It was weird because this time last year, we were kind of wondering if Amazon was kind of giving up on Alexa and the Amazon Echo devices because they'd kind of been phoning it in for a bit, and the division has never actually made money. But it seems like they've regained some interest, maybe with the whole consumer-facing AI revolution we've seen in the last year or so, with the large language models and other things, which have the potential to make these devices a lot smarter. So one of the features they've added is Amazon Alexa Emergency Assist. So being able to call from help from your devices, and additional features throughout their Alexa and Alexa powered devices, such as their Echo devices, to make it even smarter and integrating with all your data. Now, the only thing that seems weird to me, I get it from a Google perspective, is, especially if you're a Gmail user and if you use Google Calendar and a number of the other services, Google knows a lot about you. if you're an Apple user and you're fully in the Apple ecosystem with iCloud and the like, they know quite a lot about you. You got in both cases, you've got your calendars as well, your contacts and all that. How much does Amazon actually know about us aside from our shopping history? And would we really want to link up some of our other personal things like our calendars and our contacts with basically a big online store?
Nope.
Well, Will, what do you think? What do you think? You trust the big e-commerce giant in the sky to manage all your personal data and run the friendly AI to run your smart home?
Just do what you do well, okay? Like, just
stay in your lane. Shut up and
stay in your lane. Why does everybody have to be everything to everyone? Just do your
recurring
thing,
theme.
Okay.
To be fair, they were early to the game with Alexa, and they're still, I think, by most accounts, ahead of Siri in a lot of respects. But this race sounds like it's just heating up again. Google and Apple and Amazon, and I know Samsung hasn't given up either.
Look, I know you guys like personal assistants. I have zero interest in them. I've never had one. I never want one. It's just not a use case. Unless I can go, hey Siri, do my taxes. I will get up and turn on the lights or turn them off. Look, I'm good.
What do you mean that's not
that's ableist, Will? Like, what if you had too much to eat and you can't get up?
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. Other people who have other concerns or various needs, fill your boots.
But we talked about business. It was business. I have a receipt. Sorry. See what you've done? Siri's doing my taxes.
Siri.
Will, you have to embrace the power that comes with being able to boss the computers around and do your bidding. All right.
So here's the thing. I look at what Amazon recommends to me sometimes, and I look at what Temu and what AliExpress recommend to me sometimes, and I want artificial intelligence and the integration of the rest of my life nowhere near any of this, because I'm pretty sure they think I'm a serial killer. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna. I don't know.
And they're on to you. So some of the other AI enhancements to Alexa include conversational interactions that take into account body language, gestures, and eye contact. So we have the devices that have the screens and cameras. They can do that. You can combine multiple requests into one interaction. I love that because I would love to be able to tell Siri, for example, to turn off some lights and then turn on the other ones all in one go. But no, you've got to wait and let it do one thing at a time.
I thought iOS 17 changed that.
Well, the HomePods still don't. Not last time I tried. Yeah, I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to turn off my lights here. Continue conversations without using the wake word Alexa. Now, Siri has been doing that a little bit more with follow-on questions, a more natural sounding voice. All right. Expressive responses, including laughter, excitement, empathy, and listening sounds like ahas. Mm-hmm. Is that what we want? Mm-hmm.
I told you I'm way out on all of this. So.
Anyhow, these new features are coming soon. But then we've got some accessibility features like eye gaze for those with mobility or speech disabilities. So the Fire TV Max 11 tablets allow customers to glance at their device to play music, make calls, and access smart home controls. That'll be rolling out to US, UK, Germany, and Japan later this year. So some of those things are pretty cool. We'll have links in the show notes for this TechCrunch article that digs into all the features and devices talked about at the Amazon's event last week. But Amazon wasn't the only company to have a big event last week. Oh, actually, before we get on to the other company at a big event, there's a couple other quick things. If you're really excited about buying things from Amazon, you can go and do a tour now. They've got AmazonTours.com. Ever wondered how products in your online shopping cart get from Amazon to you? Come meet Amazon and take a free tour of a fulfillment center. Actually, that'd be kind of boss road trip. Like if you're in elementary school, as long as you didn't get sucked into one of the conveyor belts or something, just keep your distance.
Send to Missouri.
And getting to see the often invisible workers who are getting the things to us and the thankless work there. So I think this is like a transparency effort, a bit of PR. They've got virtual tours, video tours, and in-person tours. So they're about 30 minutes long. And you'll see things like their pick, pack, slam, and ship, where you will meet some employees, see robotics and other technology in action, and learn about Amazon's efforts in the areas of safety and sustainability. So that's kind of cool. Not so cool. The FTC is now taking on another giant. They haven't been too lucky in the last couple of years, taking on various tech giants with antitrust cases and the like. But now they're figuring, well, let's keep going. We're going to go for Amazon now, operating an illegal monopoly to pry loose Amazon's monopolistic control and restore competition. So FTC Chair Lena Khan actually had written a paper back in university about Amazon, I believe, and how she would break them up. So this is a 172-page suit talking about Amazon's business practices after a years-long investigation. So they claim that Amazon engages in a number of anti-competitive practices, such as anti-discounting measures that deter sellers from offering lower products on non-Amazon markets, and pressuring sellers to use Amazon's fulfillment center in order to obtain Prime eligibility for its products. He claims to have raised costs for sellers and limited competitors' ability to fairly compete with the giant. And Amazon's almost at 40% of the US e-commerce market last year, and that actually feels low. You think about how much we all shop at Amazon nowadays, especially at certain times of year. I know that some of the other complaints in the past, and are probably included in here, have to do with the marketplace sellers and how a lot of people come up with these great innovative products, and then next thing you know, 6 months later, there's an Amazon Basics version of that.
Yeah.
Because Amazon has access to all the analytics for all these kind of products and how they're doing. It's like, you know what? We're going to get our friends in China to make a knockoff, and it's going to be called Amazon Basics. So there'll be that built-in trust. Yep. Will, do you think this is a wild goose chase, or do you think giants like Amazon need to be chastened a little bit like Microsoft and others have been in the past?
I don't know. I think it's good to have some checks and balances, but yeah, I mean, I think definitely we don't want government overreach, but as we were talking with Tasia last week, there's a lot of these things that there's no sort of oversight on some of these things. Some of the things with the Amazon Basics, like there was like a sling bag or something. They look suspicious just from a 10,000-foot view. And maybe it might be worth somebody actually looking into it. So I don't have a big problem with it, as long as it's done carefully and respectfully. And, I think it's probably good to have some oversight on these companies and chasing them a little bit, as you said, but there's a limit.
Yeah, I mean, they're really leaning into the fact that Amazon is just getting so big now, and claiming that tactics like the Prime subscription, which is $140 a year. I remember when it was $70 a year, and it's been around, hard to believe, since 2005 now. So that's 18 years of Amazon Prime. But tactics like that continue to incentivize people to use Amazon. It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like if you've got a Costco membership, you're going to shop at Costco more. Yeah. So I'm not sure how much that really holds water myself, but some of these other things, it's worth like digging into a little bit, and in the interest of transparency and fair dealing, because otherwise, what's to stop them just from getting bigger and bigger? And whenever there are Prime days, we tend to talk about them here on Momentous Live. We always like to remind folks that there are other options than Amazon. Although Amazon can be a great value and very convenient because they've got warehouses everywhere. Sometimes it's nice to buy local or from other big box retailers that are in our neighborhoods. The profits stay a little closer to home, and sometimes, especially if you're dealing with local companies, local retailers, and a lot of times Amazon isn't even the cheapest. Gray, what are some of your favorite go-tos when it comes to looking elsewhere than Amazon nowadays?
I do like the Chinese shopping apps. I really feel like if you're going to exploit, you might as well go right to the source.
Just lean into it. Keep those profits as far away from home as possible.
Yeah, and it's not things come with lead paint anymore, so I think that's really a good choice. I don't have any money anymore, so I just don't buy things. Mostly I'm repairing a lot of the old stuff, so my number one source is me.
There we go. And then soon, everyone else's number one source will be your online store.
That's right.
We're all waiting for.
Yeah.
So Amazon wasn't the only one, as mentioned, to have a big online event last week. There was also the Microsoft Surface event, in which they revealed some new Surface products, some of which still look suspiciously like MacBooks. Don't even get me started. But one of the key things is that they are injecting Copilot everywhere. So basically their flavor of Chat GPT into all the various tools, not just Bing, but in Edge and Windows and all the Office apps. And we've talked about that a little bit before. And Tasia and I get into it a bit more in the most recent episode of AI Named This Show. But the hardware things they talked about, the Surface Laptop Studio 2. So again, you look at the bottom half of that, it's like, that's MacBook Pro right there. Now, the difference is it's got a bit of the kickstand type of screen like we've seen in the traditional Surfaces, going pretty much all the way back to the beginning. So it's kind of like they Frankensteined it a bit. And that's an interesting option for people when you just want to watch stuff and you don't need to use the built-in keyboard. We have the Surface Laptop Go 3. Okay, so let's get our naming straight here. We've got Surface Laptop Studio 2, Surface Laptop Go 3, which is the simpler and slimmer device, starting at $799 US. And those are the big hardware things there. Great. Like if you were to get a Windows laptop, how seriously would you look at the Microsoft offerings, being, first party and all? Kind of like we talk about, does Android work best on Pixel phones? If you had to deal with Windows on a daily basis, how closely would you look at the Surface offerings?
Probably fairly closely. I know quite a few people who have them. Reports have been mixed from what I've heard. Like, it's rare that you run into somebody who has a MacBook Pro who is like, yeah, you either like love your MacBook Pro or you hate your MacBook Pro, right? And it's usually because either you dropped it or you're just a bad person. Or
you had years of butterfly keyboards.
Yes, yeah. Well, the 2019 Intel I loathed with a fire of 1,000 suns. It just was the wrong thing at the wrong time at the wrong price. But the Surface, like, this is my problem with Windows laptops. What's the difference between the Studio and the laptop? And like, okay, so it's got the, I don't know. I'm just looking at it going, can I play Destiny on it? No? Okay, well, then why do I own a Windows machine here?
There we go. Now, Will, in your current job, like you're a Windows user from way back in the day, you had a desktop and laptop, and now your current job what are you rocking most of the time?
Mostly Windows, but I use both. So
has it been going back to Windows?
Even though my home computers used to be Windows, I've always used Windows and Mac, like either teaching, as you know, Tristan, at some places we taught, they had Apple Labs, various workplaces. Because I do a lot of design, I often have to go back and forth. So I often used to joke, I'm bilingual when it comes to computers, not trilingual, but bilingual. So I can use Windows or Mac. I just, usually switching between the two, if I haven't gone in and changed some of the settings, there's a little bit of, the mouse the wrong way or pressing the wrong button or pressing control instead of the home button or the Mac button or what have you, alt, things like that. There's little things, but honestly, it's a computer. Like there's file systems. It's not like totally crazy different. So back in the day when I was learning, it was more difficult when things like Adobe and Macromedia wouldn't work even if it was the same program. So things like Flash files wouldn't open in Windows if you created them on an Apple computer. And that changed with Intel chips and various other changes that Adobe did. But other programs had a similar problem. But these days I find it's pretty seamless.
Now, you showed me the other day the laptop that they gave you
Oh,
for
yeah.
carting to and from work, and luckily you don't have to do that anymore because I got you a desktop.
Yeah.
That's an Asus gaming laptop. How many pounds do you figure that beast is?
Oh, I don't know. I should look it up. It's heavy though. It's got to be. You think it's 6? I think it's probably 10 or 12. But
We're getting
yeah,
up to Macintosh portable territory.
Yeah,
though.
but
16 pounds.
the brick is almost as heavy. I think I told you, like the brick to power it is almost as heavy, and I have to use that brick. Like a hub won't power it. There's not enough power in the hubs that we have at work, so I actually have to bring that brick around. So it's actually a huge improvement. I'm very grateful to work. It's a great place to work. I didn't even say much about it. I just made one small comment about my shoulder hurting, and then all of a sudden I got another computer. So it's awesome.
Now, with that in mind, and having used that large gaming laptop and having to carry it around, when you see offerings from Microsoft like these 2 versions of the Surface Studio and Surface Go, how much appeal is there for you for something a little lighter and maybe not quite as powerful, but
yeah, there's zero appeal for me. So
tell me how you really feel.
As Greg kind of said, well, so there's 2 things. First of all, for my purposes, it doesn't work. If it works for your purposes, great. If you're just, cruising the internet and doing Word or PowerPoint, fill your boots. But for me and the things that I do with various graphic programs and part of my work is video and video games and all that kind of stuff. So it simply doesn't work. Now, having said that, I've also been at a place where not my current work, but one of my old works, they actually deployed a bunch of Service Pros, and there was a lot of problems. Now, I know this was an earlier version. It was 6 years ago, but just problems in terms of syncing to servers and all sorts of other issues. And we're talking about a very different deployment here, but not how people would use it at home. It was like in a workplace and, hooking up to projectors and stuff. There was just always problems. So, I mean, look, if this suits your purposes, great. I know some people can just do an iPad with a keyboard. Awesome. If that's you, fill your boots. But for me and what I do on a computer, I just couldn't use one of these things.
So to the PowerPoint, no pun intended. This is the new Surface Laptop Studio 2. They say it's twice as fast as the original model, 13th gen Intel processor, Core i7, and for a GPU you can choose between an NVIDIA RTX 4050 or 4060 or NVIDIA RTX 2000 for more graphics intensive workloads. They start at $2,000 and will ship in October 3rd. So the idea is that these are, a bit more workhorses than you might expect, and the fact that there's the hybrid use case with the tiltable screen, and it's actually a touch screen, so you could use a pen input device there, whereas like the Laptop Go is more of the MacBook Air sort of equivalent. So I mean they're splitting the market a little bit. They're segmenting. They're going the slightly higher end and slightly lower end depending on people's use case. It'll be interesting to see the reviews once these get into people's hands. Because honestly, like if I had to get a Windows laptop, I'd be tempted by the studio. So these names kill me. The Surface Laptop Studio 2. Man. Not to be confused with wasn't there like a Surface Book and a Surface Pro, and I don't even know. And then they had the Surface Studio, which was like the iMac style thing with the tiltable screen. Like this is like the laptop version of that. Anyway. But it's not in my future soon anyway, unless we absolutely have to get Windows devices. Someday.
You might have had a little trembler there.
Or was it a big truck? Didn't feel anything here.
No, it's still might be my blood sugar. I don't know.
You feeling anything, Will?
No.
Okay, don't mind me.
All right,
I'm discounting it.
You never know. You never know.
Never know.
So moving from the surface of Microsoft to the surface of various celestial bodies.
Oh, I see what you did there.
A couple of signs, tantalizing signs of possible life. Thanks to the James Webb Telescope, we have detection of dimethyl sulfide on a distant planet called K218b, which has a water ocean. And in related news, the NASA's James Webb Telescope also found a carbon source on the surface of Europa, which is one of the moons of Jupiter. Gray, how significant are these? Like, what does it matter to us that there could be carbon on Europa or this other exotic element or chemical on this other faraway planet? Why should we care?
So like we are carbon-based life forms. I remember back.
Speak for yourself.
Star Trek, the motion picture, the Decker unit and the rest of the humans were all carbon-based life forms, as per Lieutenant Ilia, the Delton shaved head. Good luck. And so these things basically they're the hallmarks of stuff like us. When we see these chemical markers, it could be indicative of other carbon-based life forms. The fascinating thing is, like, we're looking at this and we're going, okay, there could be things like us there. Europa in particular, it's got a lot of the things that could sustain life. It showed up in a number of video games, including, you wouldn't guess,
Destiny 2
and Candy Crush. But in any case, so this is kind of looking at it and saying, okay, here are some pieces that might be like us. It's fascinating because we could actually, when we do find extraterrestrial life, if we do, most likely will, it could be silicon based, right? It could breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out acid. We don't know. And so it's like, yeah, this looks like us, but isn't it a little egocentric to think that that's the only way that life could happen? It's the only way that life has, but.
So the key point with the Europa news is that previously we've noticed that there's water like under its icy surface, but now you've got carbon.
Yes.
And that hadn't been previously detected before. So now it's like a greater chance that there may be some sort of microscopic or primitive life swimming around somewhere in there.
You have another of the building blocks that made us.
All right. Well, what if we need building blocks for more iPhones or Microsoft Surface, whatever they call them?
I figured we just grab ice from Europa and chuck it into the atmosphere to cool things down here. So.
Or, we could take the NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission and fly out to an asteroid, say maybe in September 2016.
Yeah.
And, this asteroid may be called Bennu, and bring some stuff back. So 7 years later, OSIRIS-REx actually came back to Earth and brought asteroid chunks from outer space.
This is a BC angle to it.
Well, do tell.
So the University of British Columbia and SFU both contributed technology to this mission. UBC specifically did the targeting computer.
Say again? Sorry.
They did the targeting computer for the pickup on this.
Gotcha.
I believe SFU did the vacuum mechanism, which was the Hayabusa, the Japanese one, where it was they came in and tapped it, and it basically there was sort of almost like a trapdoor mechanism that as it opened, it sucked things up in and went this way.
Very cool.
That well.
And so what about the technical aspects of getting, how far away was this asteroid, and the precarity of the situation to actually land, get what it needed to get, and then get back here? Can you describe some of the what it took from a technical perspective to make that all happen? Because we saw with James Webb, for example, there was like 10 million things that had to go right to make sure that got up to the right spot and deployed properly.
Yeah, and it's very similar with this. I mean, it's kind of always like that with space. And when things go wrong, they go drastically wrong. But I think maybe sometimes we forget how often things do go right in a lot of things that humans do. Like, yeah, sure, this is playing darts across the world with your eyes closed, throwing backwards. Yeah, that's kind of the level of complexity. But you've got people who are all supporting each other, who are experts at this. When you take a look at the simulations that they ran, I went to the H.R. McMillan Space Center to see a talk about this mission in specific, and it was literally like, not that you can account for every eventuality, but they had kind of pegged all of the things that probably would happen, and none of them really did. This was kind of a badass, like, get in there, get out.
Not bad for a 1.2 billion mile journey,
right,
to and from the asteroid Bennu.
And as far as we know, didn't bring back a flesh-eating bacteria.
Yet, exactly. It re-entered the atmosphere at 27,000 miles per hour.
Got a speeding ticket.
That's going to leave a mark. And so again, what is the objective of getting this asteroid sample? Are we looking for life? Are we looking for materials for for manufacturing? What is the mission here?
It's all of the above. This is actually more related to industry. We're, and I when it's actually speaking to the scientists that were developing the targeting computer for this thing, they had the very similar mindset that I did, which was, why are we wrapping up this planet when we've got all of these things out here that we're pretty sure nothing's living on? That said, if we did find something alive on Bennu, would change things a little bit.
Give us back our rocks.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Here. Look at this. Isn't this great? Tap. I love this. This is great. It's just like, it's a space dustbuster.
And I guess part of it's the proof of concept, being able to, land on these bodies and extract samples for research, and then decide if they're going to be appropriate targets for further exploration and or mining, getting the stuff back to Earth. So it's getting the reps in to a certain extent here. No,
one of the things that they were talking about was like some of these, as we go forward in the future, they're not coming back to Earth, right? We're basically going to be launching self-replicating drones out into the asteroid belt, where they will build more self-replicating drones who, when they are ready, will go and do all the analysis and send us just back the data. Cool.
Very cool. All right. Now scientists have opened the lid to NASA's asteroid sample canister, and they found some black dust-like material. and they're hoping it's actually from the asteroid and not the leftovers from someone's Cajun chicken that they forgot to clean the dust off.
Chicken.
Yeah, so more to find as they actually, get into analyzing the details here. This is all pretty early news, but watch this space. NASA has scheduled a press conference for October 11th to reveal more details about the nature of the sample from the asteroid Bennu.
Okay, so just a tiny aside. I'll probably actually see if I can get this set up for next week. But I went to Steamworks for some food while my phone was being repaired. The restaurant, not the bathhouse. And so there's Fate magazine on the wall there. Fate magazine is from the late 50s, early 60s, 1959. There is a copy of the magazine that says there's something on the moon, and it is the most batshit story that I've ever read in my life, and I may do a dramatic reading for us next week. At least some segments.
We're looking forward to that one. So, in other space-related news, one of our favorite Apple TV Plus series is coming back for season 4 this fall. Gray, how excited are you for this? And what would you say the series thus far has represented for its alternate timeline, alternate history of what NASA could have been and what the private aspect of the space race could have been? How do you think it compares? And what's the whole point of it?
I've only seen season 1, and I stopped watching because it made me very sad that we don't live in a world where the space exploration took more of a forefront to what we do. I'm waiting until it's over, and then I will binge it, and then I'll probably cry for about a week.
Well,
highly emotional, I think.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't all go swimmingly, so you don't hesitate. You can save some of those tears.
Sure.
Not a utopia, but I think it's pretty well done. And they every season they seem to jump forward another decade or more, and the makeup becomes increasingly hard to believe.
Well, I mean, what was the show that Joel Kinnaman was in last time? Because in the second season, it didn't look like him at all. Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
That's one I have not seen.
There's
well,
a joke
yeah,
there.
I
You'll
mean,
have to go check out the second season.
well, now, I know you've been more like space adjacent,
Mhm.
but you have Apple TV Plus now, and then any interest in For All Mankind? As we've been talking about it for years.
I don't have interest or lack thereof. I have
Neutral.
enough things to watch, as we've talked about. It's on a very long list of probably about 300 or 400 shows. So I seem to get new ones all the time. You were talking about The Bear or something like that. So there seems to just be a flood of shows, and I pretty much stick to the same things and then watch a bunch of stupid YouTube bloggers for hours every day.
You better get caught up because the writer's strike is supposed to be over tonight, and
what?
We'll see when the actors get back at it.
Yeah, they have a tentative agreement.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love tentative agreements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so they'll get writing, and we'll see when the actors get acting again. But we still got to take advantage of this time to get caught up.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it would go on longer. I mean, aside from the human suffering involved.
Yeah. From your own personal standpoint.
Exactly. Like, just pump the brakes. We got too much content. First world problems. But Will, you have a momentous pick for us this week, which is decidedly not in the stars, but rather in the sewers.
Yeah. So, I mean, full bias. I'm a huge fan. Going back to the original comic books, I've checked in on. I'm getting to it.
Okay,
give me a sec. Jeez, snooze. So, of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, I've checked in on them every once in a while. I was a fan of the original live action movies that had the puppetry by Jim Henson's company, and I've watched various numbers of reboots of television shows and movies. There was one 2007, was it TMNT or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
This one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and it was produced and written, I believe, by Seth Rogen and his partner. Was it Goldberg?
Evan Goldberg.
Evan Goldberg. Really, really well done. I really enjoyed it. No spoilers, but I think it's a take that I really appreciated. It's an origin story. It's very much in the sort of realm of a lot of the other Turtle stories. They handle some things slightly differently, but they do feel a lot more like teenagers. They feel a lot more new. They're learning things. They're making mistakes. A lot of the other incarnations of Turtles, you kind of come and see them as their finished products, that they're master ninjas and all that kind of stuff. You kind of feel sort of it's DIY. Some of the voice acting talent is great in this. Seth Rogen lends his voice. Jackie Chan has a great role. And then, as you'd expect from Rogen and Goldberg, that this has got a lot of a lighthearted humor to it. Which is just really on point. So I really appreciated the story. It was, I've seen some interviews from Seth Rogen, and it's kind of like a love letter to the Turtles. He grew up with them and loved them, and this was his sort of fanboy take on them. So I really appreciated it. Is it going to win an Oscar? No, but I think that there's a lot of love and care here, and if you're a fan of the Turtles, I could be wrong. Everyone has their own view, but I think you'll probably enjoy this Turtles rendition.
I'll have to admit, I'm just slightly older than most Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans, given I'm just a few years older than you guys. So I kind of miss that, just like I would kind of miss the current incarnate or the 80s incarnation of G.I. Joe as well, and Pokemon and all of that sort of stuff. But that being said, I thought, I agree, Will. I thought it was good. Like, from what I've absorbed of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in culture over the last few decades, and it was fun. It was a modern take. The animation style was pretty cool. Parts of it reminded me a little bit of the Spider-Man animated Spider-Verse movies. Not going back and forth a different style so much, but just a fresh take on animation, and a fun story. And they didn't eat quite enough pizza as I was hoping,
It's
but
true. It's
yeah.
true.
we're going to make up for it tonight. Stephanie's just working on some pizza now. Now, Gray,
Yes,
you've got a slightly different pick for us this week.
I do.
Bit of a sticky situation.
It is indeed. So I have been on the search for the world's best glue, and it's really, really good. So this is kind of it's not the best way to introduce it, but B7000 I got because I ordered an earring making kit because I've got the laser, and Merritt's been doing some designs and things, and so it's great. And so it came with a tube of this stuff. Now there's a lid that goes with it that has a pin that goes down. I've lost the lid. As of like a minute ago. But it's okay because I've got 4 more bags of this stuff over here. So I've rigged up a pseudo using an earring and a few other things to stop this from clogging up. It's not going to work, but still amazing stuff. I have not found something this will not stick yet. So it's been great. I've repaired things with it. I've built things with it. It's glue that actually glues, where I found that a lot of my crazy glues, my safety glues, even my 2-stage epoxies aren't doing what they used to do. Right? And climate change, or possibly shoddy workmanship, mostly the shoddy workmanship. But this makes up for my mistakes. And so this is myself yet.
That's perfect. So this is not a 2-stage. This is just a single, and so you have to treat it carefully. Maybe don't lose the lid, and so on. Now you were mentioning before the show something that you repaired specifically recently.
What was that?
Something to do with an iPhone or a case? A little dangly bit?
Oh yeah, the MagSafe case. Yeah, which I don't know where I put my phone because ADHD. But hang on. There should be. Whoop. Yeah. Yeah, it's the MagSafe bit. Came out. So I glue it back in.
So what bit specifically? The round bit, the line bit, some other bit? Oh, really?
Yeah, I changed the color of it a little bit, but yeah. It's still MagSafes.
That's
the important thing,
right? So yeah, I've been having a really good time though. Do you want to do your pick and then we can come back and see my project?
Sure, let's do that. It's funny because coincidentally, Will may have actually mentioned it. Season 2 of The Bear is finally on Disney Plus. It was, I believe, on Hulu in the States initially, because it's an FX property. And once, I guess, the season was done, they brought it to Disney Plus elsewhere, including Canada. And I can't say enough good things about it. I never thought I would give a crap about a show about a restaurant. But the acting is superb. The writing is very true to life. The characters evolve. There is, people that you hate that you later on start to appreciate and then eventually start to love. There's arcs for the different characters. Everyone's got a role, and the season is very different than the first season, but it's like a whole new adventure, so to speak. And I can't say enough good things about it. Both Stephanie and I enjoy it, and it's got its funny moments. It's got its very stressful moments, but it is built with care. Will, you got a thought on The Bear?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I was just I'm also a wrestling fan, and I happened to look up. There's a wrestling movie coming out soon called The Iron Claw. It's the story of the Von Erich brothers from the 70s and 80s. And the lead actor in The Bear is going to be one of the Von Erich brothers. So I was like, oh, that's the show that Tristan was talking about. That main guy is going to be one of the Von Erich brothers.
It's Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah.
And he's been in other stuff, but this is the first thing that I recognize or that I've seen him in. But apparently he was in some other shows such as Shameless, which I never watched, and some other things like The Birthday Cake and Cornflower and Homecoming, and but Shameless is the one
you got to catch up on.
Yeah, great show, great actors. The Bear. Now, Gray, did you say that you had seen a little bit of it, or
I've not? No.
okay.
And so somebody had quoted something at me, just the word like heard, Like, oh, that's a thing from the bear. I'm like Smokey and the Bear. He's like, no, it's a show at a restaurant. I'm like, there's a bear in a restaurant. It's like a horse in a hospital. But I'm gonna give it a go anyway.
All right. So we will drop a link for the Iron Claw in the show notes as well, if anyone wants to check that out as well. It looks, I've not seen, I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes of Gorgeous Glow based on Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, starring Mark Maron and an amazing ensemble cast of ladies whose name escaped me because I'm bad at my job. But we didn't really grab us, but I do remember Glow, the actual show from the late 80s. Because
I remember
my former stepdad
well.
used to watch it religiously, along with the 20-minute workout. Let's move on to our projects, shall we? Well, you got some new beats for us?
I do. I've been working on this one for a while. It's a long story, but it took a bit of time. I think about 20 other DJs and producers on this. Took a long time. I'm really happy with it. I spent a long time on the graphic as well.
That.
People seem to be liking it a lot. So I'm really, it's always, very, very nice when people reach out to me and say they love my graphics or they love the beats or both. And this is a case, I think I brought this up in the past, is like, this to me is how I use AI, is that everything around the book I did, copying the font, coming up with the treatment, doing the distressing, all that kind of stuff, sourcing the logo. And then the center image, I did a prompt, and then I added in the door. I added in a staircase going up to it. I cleaned up some of the stuff on the head of the skull because it was not uniform and looked bad. I changed the eyes a bit. I darkened some of the edges to give that really focus on the center. But, this is something where I couldn't have reproduced that image, myself. And I used it as a tool to help, really put polish on the theme. So I gave it a title and I did all this treatment to it. So sorry if I'm kind of waxing poetic about it, but I mean, people kind of think you do an AI image and you go, there you go. You put it up online with all the extra thumbs and teeth, and it's good to go. I think I got rid of a row of teeth here as well. So
it's got the right number of teeth now. Good job.
Yeah. So So I mean, AI is not going to take our jobs right away. It helps me create a better product. So thanks for saying that, Gray. And I know Tristan, you said you enjoyed these ones in the past as well. So thank you, everyone.
I'm afraid to ask, unless I get reprimanded, but for our audio listeners at home, what's it called?
It's called Enter the Lost Scratch Temple, and it's Scratch Your Own Adventure Volume 3.
Love it. This is great. And one of the things I really appreciate about your cover art that you've been doing over the last couple of years is you're mining our childhoods and our nostalgia and finding cool things that really, really work, and finding an angle in there that's appropriate for the release. And I just love that you're the DJ of the story. Choose from 36 possible loops by Molotov and crew, so you can hear such classics as Space Invaders by Molotov. What a surprise there. And Destroy of Worlds, also by Molotov. Now you've got a bunch of other beat makers here as well. Just curious, how long does it take to actually wrangle all these beats from these other creators? Well, I know it probably takes you away from the beat making, which is what you really want to do. Is it like herding cats?
It can be. It really depends. I mean, it's fine. But I also, in the middle of all of this, there was someone else doing another looper that had more of a tight timeline. So I kind of stepped back a little bit and let them do their looper. And then I did one after that because they were doing a looper for an event. But yeah, it is a little bit like I basically have to set up a spreadsheet of all the people I'm inviting and who accepted And then when they bail, I have to delete them from the spreadsheet. And when they deliver, then I have to check off from the spreadsheet. So it can be a lot of things. I actually had a problem with this one where I had a beat and it had been sent to me, and I do this whole thing where I put it in a folder, and they, because, when you ask 20 people to do something, they're all going to do it differently, even when you ask them to do it in a very specific way. It's just human nature. I don't blame any of them. I would probably do it some different than what somebody would want. So somebody sent me a beat that just had the name of the beat and the BPM. I asked for the name of the artist, the BPM, and the title of the loop. And this person only sent the title of the song and the BPM. And by the time I went back to do it, I could not remember who the artist was. And I started asking people, like, did you send me this loop under this name? I finally figured out who it was, but that probably took like 4 or 5 days of just sending people messages like, hey, did you send me this one? Who sent me this one? So yeah, it's
I understood there would be no project management.
yeah. And on top of it, I spent way too much time on the graphics because I enjoy doing it. So yeah, it's about the music, and then I end up doing management and art design as well.
Yeah.
So these things take time. So
have you thought about like selling prints of any of these?
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about doing that, but I think if anyone would want one, I've had people reach out to me and, oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I have had people say they liked it. Like I've just had 3 people comment that they thought this was great. So, I would definitely consider
it. The cast.
For sure.
How'd you like it burned into a pair of your jeans? Will, where can people find your beats?
So either on Tableist.net under Artist Molotov, or on the Table Beats app.
Very cool. Now, Gray, you've got a project for us this week as well.
Yeah, so the site is coming fairly soon because I actually just searched the domain earlier this week. It is web.today, and so it's not here yet.
Is this like old 90s techno with the wub, or is it the dubstep from the 2000s? Wub.
All you need is Webb, right? Webb is all you need. Webb is a many splendid thing.
So what is web.today going to be?
So this is actually kind of it's a collaboration where we're looking at some design stuff, some podcasty stuff, some TikToky stuff, and you'll be able to buy some of these things. So earlier today, we've been working on designing some earrings. So these are some original designs. These ones here are my these are my favorite right now. Those say Amelia on them, because they're Amelia Earharts.
I see what you did there.
Right,
adorable.
And so I also wanted to, going around to farmers markets and things, wanted to have something displayed on. So I designed a little earring holder. So that's proof of concept. Did you know that a toothpick is 1.8 millimeters in diameter? And so
I did not.
If you laser a hole that is 1.8 millimeters in diameter, you then can use the toothpick as a very small dowel.
Nice.
And glue into place.
So you're carving up that wood with your laser.
That's correct.
That's what's happening.
The X-Tool M1. I actually did a couple of stickers for my friend Corey today, and accidentally heat transfer vinyled some vinyl onto the base plate because I forgot to put something underneath it. So it's quite silver and shiny right now.
Now, how about the earrings themselves? How are they made?
So these are this is original design by Merritt, and I took these are part of her Domesticon series. Actually, these are not going to be
my favorite Transformers.
Yeah.
And so basically circular. You got little. It's the fragile emotional states. It's the heart with the exclamation mark in it, and just can't really.
And how are those? Are they handcrafted, or how are they made?
So this is taking that scalable vector graphics, putting it into Xtool, and then we're doing basically a carve on the outside of a cut to cut out the shape of it, and then you've got a what is it called? Give me just a second here. I can't remember the term. There's engraving, which is basically you're engraving off the surface of the substrate, and then there is. It's not scan. heck? It outlines it. And
Gotcha.
so basically that gets you your different shades here. What we did with these was take crayons, of all things. Got these beautiful crayons from they're on clearance. So you got your cardboard crayons there, nice and bright,
Okay.
and color that onto the wood. Did the engrave, and then you used UV resin to give you a nice finish on that. And then you've got the backings going there. It's sealed on the back with nail polish to keep human oils out of it. There's also a little bit of ultraviolet fluorescent powder on the back, so they'll glow if you lose them.
So can people tune in and watch you make some of these things? Are you doing any live streams?
That is actually what Webb done today is going to be doing. So we've got a number of cameras set up here in the space. Basically, I've decided to talented Mr. Ripley Adam Savage. And so that's what we will be doing. The first live broadcast is probably not going to be for another 2 weeks, but yeah, it might be a couple of the first official one. There might be a couple of test broadcasts coming up. So, keep your eyes open for web.today. One of the cool things that we're doing as well is we're also doing some seasonal stuff. So this is a flameless jack-o'-lantern concept that we're working on. It's got some stuff, little kitty and some witches.
Oh, does it smell like pumpkin spice?
There's a Dracula. And then you can basically take your light, put it in there, and we'll project those onto.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely +1 on the test streams there. I was going back and looking at some of our original tests back in February, March 2021, and boy, are some of them rough. But we got it going. I mean, not that it's not still rough in its own charming way nowadays, but
pleasantly rough.
Yeah, and including out of control COVID beard. At least one person had. Tasia. So speaking of our long lost quadrant, great. There was another little project that you had a collab with Tasia on this past week. Just dropped today, actually. What was that about?
So, her Talking to Me podcast. We were talking about Bill C-18, the news or lack thereof on social media in Canada, and the general ire at Facebook. Canada, I guess, is now the new Ireland.
Wow.
It's that. I mean, I don't know how you guys have found it with your social circles.
So much better.
Yeah.
I don't go to Facebook for news. So
yeah. It's not a social media. It's a social network.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. Yeah.
People go to Reddit for news. Oh, no, sorry, Reddit. Oh.
Wow.
So further proof that Tasia is the you can find that at Tasia's website, which I have somewhere here at, where is it? TasiaCustody.com, and under the My Work tab, you can find the Talk Techie to Me podcast. And you've been on a couple of times with her. I've been on a couple of times. We got to get Will on there sometime. We got to get Tasia into like beats or gaming or something like that, and we'll get you on there.
I may be too techie.
Oh, I see. Your next level techie.
I'm nerdy.
Further
Not
proof
techie, I'm nerdy.
Further proof that Tasia is the one of the hardest working women in tech media. She and I have a podcast, as I mentioned. AI named the show, and our episode that dropped last Friday was AI Assistants. Who is your co-pilot? Where we talked about Bing and their new features that they've added throughout the Microsoft suite, the GPT-powered features, as well as Google's additions to their suite of products as well. And in a major blunder, I totally forgot to put some Amazon stuff in there. So we'll have to do a little whoopsie-doopsie of our own. Because we talked about Microsoft's whoopsie-doopsie last week with their Xbox data leak and their AI training data leak as well. Sometimes humans have whoopsie-doopsies too. So, but you can check that out at www.ainamedthisshow.com. And then Tasia, of course, is still making videos on YouTube, despite her love-hate and currently more hate than love relationship with YouTube at the moment. And her current video is What can iOS 17 do? The best iOS 17 features. And you can find that at youtube.com/Tasia Custodi. It's a lot of stuff. Gang, we're all doing things. We're living the dream.
We are.
And you can find out more about us at momentus.tv/links and all the things that we're up to as individuals. We're not just a collective, we're individuals. Momentus.tv/team. And the audio version of this extravaganza, which I've recently learned, believe it or not, we're getting about 1,000 listeners a week to the audio version of
What?
Well, hello.
How many mothers do you have?
Hi, Mom.
Momentus.tv/podcast. So don't despair, no matter how low those streaming numbers may look, or whether on Twitter or Facebook or even YouTube. We finally got that podcast version going in the spring.
You're going to start affecting the way I handle these things, because I just assume it's the three of us listening to it and possibly Jerome. And those are the only people that are watching these things. So I just say whatever.
You're going to start wearing pants too?
Yeah. Wow. Well, the camera doesn't go that low, so it's all good.
Thank goodness. But anyhow, gents, we did it. Hopefully we'll see Tasia again soon. If she's not busy taking down YouTube or doing more podcasts or what have you.
She has a birthday thing this week.
Yes.
Hers? Somebody else's? I don't know.
I don't.
Not hers.
Not hers. No.
Maybe watching that show, Birthday Cake.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, we hope your week is truly momentous.